In Volume 5, we explained and showed the planning and flight for a student's first cross-country trip with an instructor. The trip was from Clermont County Airport to Fayette County Airport to Richmond Airport and back to Clermont County. All went as planned for a successful trip.
But some trips may not go as smoothly. During cross-country training, you need to know the best way to handle situations such as getting off course or lost, and if necessary, asking for help. So let's fly the trip once again, but this time you'll learn what action to take when things don't go as planned. A common problem you may encounter during cross-country flight is getting off course or temporarily disoriented, a nice way of saying lost. This can happen for all sorts of reasons, such as unexpected poor visibility that causes you to miss seeing some checkpoints, or unforecast winds that cause you to drift off course.
On the first leg of the trip from Clermont County Airport to Fayette County Airport, you are practicing cross-country flying using pilotage and dead reckoning only. The heading is correct at 50 degrees. You've leveled off at the cruising altitude of 3,000 feet and have determined your ground speed to be 115 knots. Everything in the cockpit seems to be progressing nicely. Looking out to locate the next checkpoint, the town of Wilmington and Airborne Air Park, they're not readily apparent. Soon you don't see anything you recognize. What do? The first rule is, don't panic. You're probably just a bit off course. To figure out where you are, first stay with your original heading. Then watch for landmarks you might recognize while reviewing your calculations. By using the known compass heading, time, and ground speed, and figuring a no-wind condition, you can estimate the distance from your last known position and determine a point within an area where the airplane may be located. This area is frequently called a circle of error. If you estimate you have flown 10 minutes at a ground speed of 115 knots on a compass heading of 050 degrees, you should be 19.1 nautical miles from your last known checkpoint. Draw a circle around this point, 5 to 8 miles in diameter. Still continuing on your original compass heading, check the landmarks within this circle, especially on the downwind side. In this instance, check the right side of the course, since the wind was reported from 340 degrees, and you may have drifted to the right. Also, if the ceiling allows, an additional aid is to climb to a higher altitude. This should enable you to see better and farther. Checking for recognizable landmarks, you see a road ahead to the right and one on the left with a railroad. It appears you are right of course. You're about 2 miles southwest of Washington Courthouse. After finding a recognizable landmark, continue on, but with caution. Make no abrupt course change until you verify with 2 or more additional landmarks that you are back on the course you want. Next, you see a road, a railroad, and a small racetrack. Washington Courthouse with Fayette County Airport just beyond is now in sight. You are back on course. You might be saying to yourself, that's great, but what do I do if I cannot figure out my location? If that's the situation, and you have maintained your heading, now is the time to change course toward the nearest concentration of landmarks shown on the chart. In this case, a left turn of 100 degrees would head you toward the Dayton area, where there are numerous airports and landmarks that can be used to help you get back on course. Such a turn will also head you in the general direction for the next leg of the trip over to the Richmond Airport.
Your ability to cope with changing situations will prove invaluable in your flying career. In the future, when weather, fuel, or simply changing your mind about a destination requires a diversion to an alternate, you know you will be able to do it successfully. Besides, having and executing a Plan B is not only a good idea, but will provide peace of mind and instill confidence in your flying ability. Also, once back on course, figure out what went wrong so the same mistake will not be made again.
When navigating by pilotage and dead reckoning only, make sure you keep an accurate time and checkpoint log. Adjust your wind correction angle to reflect actual wind speed and direction if different than forecast. Double check that you are reading the map and compass correctly and are using the proper scale on the plotter. While on the second leg of the trip from Fayette County to Richmond, Indiana, and on course over Moraine Airport, your instructor asks you to tune in the Richmond VOR. You dial in the navigation frequency of 110.6, but get an off indication. Turning the OBS produces no CDI needle deflection. Turning up the audio produces no voice or Morse code identifier. All of these are indications that the VOR may be off the air, perhaps for routine maintenance. Double-check your radio navigation receiver. If you suspect your radio and cannot receive the Dayton, Springfield, or Cincinnati VOR, you obviously have a navigation receiver malfunction.
In either case, this is no problem if radio voice communication is maintained. If you're unsure of your position, help from ground stations in the form of very high frequency direction finding or radar service is but a brief radio call away. You can request assistance from any flight service station, air traffic control center, or from a tower, either civil or military. Simply contact them and request help on their regular communication frequency or use 121.5, the universal frequency set aside for emergency calls. No matter who you contact, you will get assistance. Once in contact, don't change frequency unless told to do so by the operator.